Hello my dear friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Beng Huang. Today we're going to look at a talk from one of my favorite modern philosophers, who's also the founder of the School of Life, Alain de Botton. And the talk that we're going to look at today is titled Alain de Botton on Love, as shown on YouTube. Link down in the description below. Let's go. Perhaps in the mid-18th century, there was no such thing as love, de Botton says in the beginning of his talk. Life used to be fairly simple. People would grow up, marry the farm boy or girl next door, have kids, and raise them so that they could inherit the family business and pass it down to future generations. Albeit, this simplistic style of life soon changed, not long after the spread of Romanticism. According to the philosopher, Romanticism claims that every one of us has a soulmate, whom we will eventually meet, form a special type of feeling with, and in its typical romantic style, we would get married and live happily ever after. And that is centuries later still the mindset that the majority of us have when it comes to love. Nonetheless, despite sounding like a terribly beautiful idea, de Botton argues, Romanticism not only hasn't improved the quality of our love life, but it has also caused numerous issues in how we love. In addition, as it's shown over here, is a summarization of all the examples of the problems that Romanticism has led us to, illustrated by de Botton. First and foremost, disagreeing with the notion of humans are pure, kind, and loving creatures, which Romanticism upholds, the Swiss-born philosopher maintains that we are not, and we are quite literally on the edge of insanity. Moreover, it is only when we enter a long-term relationship will we start to understand our personalities and imperfections. Nevertheless, casual relationships often end because of this, as couples simply couldn't accept sincere feedback from your partner and experience the mutual enlightenment that they should have had. Many of us would say that we fall in love based on instinct, to which de Botton says, from the view of psychoanalysis, we tend to fall in love with individuals that we feel familiar with in childhood. However, predictably, the love we have now would almost certainly not be as pure as what we experienced as a child, whilst it is filled with more arguments and differences. Even more so, in spite of the similar forms of suffering that the person we fall in love with brings to us, just as what we experienced in childhood, we can still feel attached to them due to a sense of familiarity. Further, romantics claim that we are obliged to be completely honest in relationships. Nonetheless, often related to the issue of sex, we may eventually ponder upon whether we should reveal our true thoughts to our loved ones while we wish not to hurt their feelings. Furthermore, romantics are also of the opinion that people are not supposed to use too many words in a relationship. In other words, we are able to form a mutual understanding solely through eye contact. Notwithstanding, the School of Life founder asks, when we don't even understand ourselves, how can we even possibly understand one another without telling them what's going inside our head? Well, certainly, locking ourselves behind that toilet door and expecting others to suddenly realize why we are mad and how we are feeling is not going to be the answer. The last example mentioned by de Botton is, as partners, Romanticism asserts that we should accept the whole of each other. Consequently, in reality, when our lover is trying to correct or improve us, we might misunderstand it as a form of scrutiny. On that note, de Botton echoes the ancient Greeks' belief that love is the attraction of perfection, virtue, and accomplishment. To achieve this, we have to play both the role of a student and a teacher in a relationship, and to feel legitimate to be in these roles, so as to practically achieve virtue and accomplishment. Albeit to teach does not mean to think, oh Christ, I married the wrong person. Oh damn it, I fall in love with an idiot. At the back of our head as we humiliate our student. In such a way, there's nothing such like teaching, nor can both sides reach a level of understanding, so to speak. Thus, to resolve the issue I have just mentioned that romanticism has caused, the philosopher argues that we have to redefine the definition of love and the means of how to love in a non-romantic way. Here, as you may see, I concluded de Botton's solution into two areas, the practical and the mindset. Number one, move away from only relying on instinct. Just as anything else, with no exception for love, solely relying on instinct is only going to result in higher chances of us making mistakes or ending up in a happy relationship. Number two, we see our loved ones not as adults, but as children. In other words, be incredibly generous in the interpretation of their behavior and treat them younger than how old they actually are. Next, to separate the difference between a wicked act or not, we have to have humor, as it is not an element that only appears in comedy, but it is more importantly a crucial element of and a sign of love between couples. Number four, secrets are okay, and we ought not to reveal everything about ourselves, such that we wouldn't stumble over the issue of revealing our true feelings versus hurting our partner's feelings. Regarding mindset, the British philosopher maintains that loneliness doesn't end with relationships. Even with the company of our lovers, there will be times when we are alone and feel lonely. Beyond that, just as we are being aware of the fact that we are all crazy creatures who do not understand ourselves, we shouldn't expect others to know ourselves as well as we do. On top of that, there will be difficult times ahead, including the issue of differences, which are all meant to work through therapeutic conversations while involving a significant amount of practical detail. In my opinion, I agree with de Botton that for most of us, romanticism is often the dominant belief when we have with regard to dating and marriage, such like stories from Disney or famous romance K-dramas. I'm not suggesting that there is no space for a bit of fantasy, however. What is not illustrated in these films or sequels is, in respect to the British philosopher, practical approaches towards building a successful, long-lasting relationship. Hence, specifically in my opinion section, I'm going to address the issue of differences, as I feel that this is certainly one of the topics, the areas that couples may stumble upon in both relationships and marriages, while being one of the most defining factors to a long-lasting and peaceful bond. First of all, frankly speaking, a lot of us are definitely not a fan of differences, as we feel that it is annoying, frustrating, and irritating. Not to mention the feeling that our lovers seem to be criticizing and not accepting us as well. Nevertheless, it is essential to note that regardless of the negative feelings we might experience as differences arise between individuals, it is arguably one of the most vital elements for relationships to grow and develop. That is, echoing the words of de Botton, coping and compromising with each other's views is the only way forward to reach mutual enlightenment and understanding that marriages depend on. Additionally, I believe that differences are also what we need for us to grow. It is merely through stepping out of our comfort zones and absorbing others' opinions and ideas can we gain knowledge and wisdom and spot the areas that we are weak at and need to improve on. Thus, in addition to differences, from my point of view, we shouldn't see differences as differences or associated with negative connotations such as disagreements or fights. Rather than that, more optimistically, we should see it as opportunities for us to grow, learn new ideas, and reflect upon them. And I believe in terms of relationships, when we learn to tolerate each other's differences without noticing, our relationship is going to naturally grow and improve by itself. Furthermore, if I were to take this to a more extreme level, I can confidently say that the vast majority of us wouldn't like to marry the same person as ourselves. It may be nice not having to work through differences or conflicts along the way, but honestly, I think that would be such a boring, meaningless relationship. Unless we are someone who wants to marry a yes man or woman, there will be no point in even having a casual relationship with a person as such. As needless to say, with the absence of differences, there will be no reflection, no growth, and no mutual understanding between pairs. And there is almost no chance that we are ever going to find ourselves an individual who is 100% the same as us. Last but not least, and most significantly, regardless of the different opinions and personalities we have, we should respect and acknowledge our lovers' views and what they think. Moreover, after speaking so much about differences, similarities also play an important role in relationships, as this is ultimately what binds us together with our lovers, and where we find a sense of union, togetherness, and commonality in. On that note, marriages should also contain an equal degree of similarity and differences, so that we wouldn't be too complacent in attempting to grow and accept our loved ones, nor too bored based on our resemblance. Overall, I would sum up my opinion section with one sentence: similarity is what binds us together, and differences is what makes it interesting. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and please remember to comment below, turn on notifications, and subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.